to the chase. Word is sense of thrill, bit of John are here and take time stand still. Diving deep where others just pretend. They are kind on the journey, chasing descent. Descent. True hits of stride, don't be content. Join the chase, be omnipresent. With Ben and John, no time is misspent. On the trail, with chasing descent. With chase it descent.
Good evening, one and all. Welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole with Ed and John.
Good evening, John.
Go. Good evening, Ed.
Audience, there are people here. Hello.
Yeah, there's quite a few people here. We've got 13 concurrent viewers at the moment, which is more than normal.
That's good.
I'm pleased. This pleases me. Do I look pleased?
You never look pleased. You're like perma-grump.
Perma-grump. I have a new persona called the Grumpy Scot, in which I'm going to be reviewing stuff. It didn't go well.
So no difference from what you normally do.
Yeah, pretty much. Maybe slightly more acerbic. But anyway.
More acerbic? Bloody
yeah.
hell.
Well, yeah, just a little. Just a
bit
purr.
If you get any more acerbic, you're going to acid your way through your bloody chair.
I am. Well, actually, that's weird because I've got a story to tell about aliens tonight.
I was going to say, if you cut your finger, does it drip down through the floor and into the next floor and keep going?
Right, so tonight we're gonna. Well, I mean, if you're here looking for some world-shaking breaking news, you're in the wrong place because Ed and I are just going to talk shite. That's kind of what we do. But I think we're getting quite accomplished at it, Ed.
I like to call it a friend of mine when that's why I set up codshit.com
Mhm.
because a friend of mine many years ago for my birthday gave me a couple of t-shirts that had codshit.com on them,
Mhm.
and he came up with the most amazing strap line, serious nonsense with a hint of genius.
I like that. I like that.
But it's cod shit, and
Yeah.
for people who don't know, cod shit's got nothing to do with food, with fish, or what comes out of your bottom. It's what people talk when they are completely off their tits at 3 o'clock in the morning after a rave in some random house party, talking to a stranger about the intricacies of whatever.
It's a bit like this show, then, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much, right.
You
So
might.
tonight we're going to talk about dreams. Well, we're going to start talking about dreams and states of mind, states of the brain, states of the neurological functions of the brain. Now, we won't be heavy on science because we aren't neuroscientists. But we do have brains, so I think we're entitled to come in to talk about them.
Yeah, I think having a brain entitles you to talk about it, especially when you think about all of the strange things that
See,
brains
there you
can
go.
do.
They're asking already. Can you bring your volume up a bit?
Oh, for crying out loud!
Get that mic right in that gob.
How's that? Is that better? Do I need to talk a bit louder? I can sit here and shout like I'm talking on some 1980s telephone call to my old man in Zambia.
That's better. Britmate says good, good. See, I did tell him before the show started. I said, get that mic in
Yeah,
before
I
the show
know.
starts.
Oh, crying out loud! It's his microphone. I don't know. Nobody else complains about it.
You
Just
were
you lot.
you did make it. You made inquiries a few months ago now about actually buying a microphone, but nothing seems to have come of that.
Yeah, things get in the way. And
I mean, you kind of seem to be doing this as a kind of regular thing now.
well, I'm a world class expert in both procrastination and yeah, my specialities are procrastination and drinking. No,
And
not
I'll
quite.
testify to both of those. I've seen them both in action this evening already.
I'm fairly good at writing computer code as well.
Oh, that's good. I see. I'm actually quite surprised with you because, and this is completely off topic. I thought you might have been a Linux guy. You know.
I've used Linux. I mean, I managed Linux servers myself for quite a few years before we offshored our servers to an external company, and they were experts in our application server, but they're a Windows shop, so we
Yeah.
switched over to Windows.
I think the problem for general everyday use is Windows just so freaking convenient that it's almost the only choice. You know. Because
yeah, I mean-
everything's available on it, you know.
Yeah, and I mean that's the main thing is the availability of various software packages that I need, and I mean some can be used on Linux quite happily.
Yeah.
And there's others that I struggle a bit, but I'm also a lazy bastard. I don't feel
Yeah.
like switching my whole bloody system over to Linux,
I know.
and everything is more effort. It's just like, and it's less effort now because of the distros and stuff, and everything's gotten so much better in the Linux world. But I'm just fundamentally a very lazy person.
Yeah, no. Yes, I am still on the water, Shalini. As you can see, though, I have pushed the boat out tonight. I've put a slice of lemon in it.
Making it exciting.
Yeah,
You should try bubbles and lemon.
well, it's carbonated water.
Oh yeah, no,
well,
that's yeah.
It's
fair enough.
actually, and this is going to sound quite gay, but it's actually half and half because I find carbonated water's too carbonated for me.
It's okay. It's too many bubbles for you.
Too many bubbles. I
dear.
don't like too many bubbles. Right. Anyway, let's crack on with the show, shall we? Since we've well overrun the start now. Oh, good grief! It's warm here. But although when I say it's warm here, it's not that warm. Now I went for a little walk today. I was going to put a video up earlier. I went for a little walk in a graveyard and took some footage and all that. and then got back and found that the footage wasn't there. All I had was one picture.
How did you manage that?
Oh, it was this stupid device here, right? This thing, right?
Right.
I've had this for many a year. This is the original, not the Pocket 3. Don't think I've got money. Don't perish that thought. I don't have money. I bought that when I had money. But yeah, so I thought, I'll give it a shot. And I went out with it and started filming and wandering around. And yeah, there you go. I ended up with one picture. It said it was recording, but it's recorded one picture, not moving pictures. So there we go. So I'll try again tomorrow.
I had that happen so many times with my GoPro when I was diving. The new one's better because I've actually got a screen, but the old one was the original GoPro. It didn't even have a viewfinder on it, so it was all.
Oh yeah.
You kind of shoot
It
blind.
It was a pure guesswork, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I used to do GoPro on the bike when I was doing my traveling across Europe and all that, and I had one on the back and one on the front, and I had a remote control. So you know how you could buy a GoPro remote, and I just used to push the button to start them, and maybe one would start, right? And then you'd say, oh, that one's not running. So you'd push the button again, which would turn the first one off. And then the second one would start. So you end up in this loop where, pull the batteries out of things, start again, And the thing is, they're in waterproof containers. So you got to, and the batteries only last for, or they only used to last for under 30 minutes. They were rubbish. Pictures were okay. But battery life was shockingly bad.
Well, it's still not amazing, but the batteries have gotten significantly better. But they now shoot in 5K. So
it's a shit lens.
It's
a little teeny shitty lens and a little teeny shitty sensor.
4K video looks amazing, but it's so much hassle to work with. The file sizes are ridiculous. You need a really powerful computer to process the video. The whole thing is just an exercise in shut up and take my money kind of thing.
Yeah, I know. And to be fair, good 10K looks almost as good as 4K to the naked eye. Not many people can tell the difference.
No. Certainly 4K is... I remember when 1080p came out, and that was pretty damn good if you grew up with a CRT TV. 4K now, it's almost just like having a window. Yeah. And 8K and whatever, why would you? The only reason to go 8K is if you're a professional and you want to crop in. Oh, yeah.
That's the only reason.
Or like drone photographers or intelligence agencies.
Yeah, you want to crop into,
Yeah.
So, forget that, right? And we will be coming on, and bear with us, people. We will start the show. We will. But we will be talking about intelligence agencies tonight because it's incredible the amount of information the CIA have on everything.
Yeah.
They really put their finger in everybody and everything's pie. They really do. Right. Let's start. Dreams. Okay, so now Ben tells us he doesn't dream. I think he does dream. He just doesn't remember it.
I don't. Well, we all dream. It's about whether you remember them or not.
Yeah, exactly.
I smoke a lot of what. So I don't dream, and I kind of like it that way because my nightmares were when I was a kid. I used to have horrible nightmares. And even now, with me, it's first thing in the morning. If I wake up like to go to the loo and then go back to sleep, quite often it's that period that I'll have the most vivid dreams.
The hypnagogic state where you can probably still hear the odd gull tapping on the window, but
no, they can't do that anymore. They can tap on the kitchen window, but that's just like.
Yeah, but you know where I am, that state, that halfway land between not fully awake and not fully asleep. And that's where you get all your best work done, apparently, if you're a dreamer.
Well, it's the period that the brain is most active. But, the brain itself is an unbelievable thing. To start with, why do we dream? I've always liked to think
good question. Why do we sleep?
Well, we sleep because when we're asleep, that's the period then your body repairs itself. Your body doesn't do any repairing during the day, generally
Why not?
speaking.
But if you lay back and just went, oh, I think I'll just take a couple of hours with my feet up on the couch and watch the telly. Why is your body not repairing itself then?
Well, if you actually fall asleep, I think you have to get into a particular state, like REM sleep, for example.
Yeah, but
Um,
why? Why do you think? Why do you think
well,
it needs to
because
do that?
when we're actually moving around during the day, our body's processes are basically you're digesting food,
Mhm.
you're breathing more regularly. Your brain is much more active. I think the thing
Well,
with
you might
sleep.
be surprised there. Now,
Okay.
that's quite interesting, but you might be surprised about the activity in the brain. Certain parts of it are much more active because it does appear to be that as you go to sleep, some parts dull down and other parts spark up. So parts that weren't terribly active during the day then seem to become really active when you're sleeping.
Well, the way that I've always thought about it, and this may well be inaccurate, but when you actually think about it, every single thing that your senses detect over the course of a day is processed by your brain. Everything you see, everything you hear,
Yeah, yeah.
everything you touch, it's like the touch of the wind on the skin. All of those sensations, everything goes into your brain, and if that stuff was constantly, because we've got different types of memory.
Well, yeah, okay.
We've got the sort of, and we've also got our subconscious, but we have long-term memory, short-term memory,
Mhm.
etc. And if all of the stuff that we experience was clogging up the internal memory, it's like a computer. If every single thing running on the computer was running in RAM all the time, you would have no RAM. And the RAM is like our um, is the short-term memory, and then you have your long-term memory, which is the hard disk. And the way that I've always thought about it is that when we're asleep, that's the period that our brain essentially clears stuff out of short-term memory,
Mhm.
puts it into long-term memory, analyzes it. And I think dreams are maybe a way of processing stuff.
Well, right. Let's go back briefly to what you said about your brain's processing everything that's coming into it from the outside. Is that what's happening though, or is your brain creating everything that's outside?
Well, it
See?
yeah, well, it is, because if you think about, let's just take our eyes, for example.
Uh-huh.
Um, to start with, we can only see a very small amount of the electromagnetic
Yes.
spectrum,
Yes, we can.
but what part of the spectrum we can perceive goes into the cones. It comes into cones of our back of our eyes,
Cones and rods. Yep.
cones and rods. And then when you think about it, it's amazing, because the first thing that your brain does is flip the image upside down, because
Mhm.
when the light comes in, everything's upside down. And
Mhm.
so your brain is automatically flipping it the right way up, which is pretty cool when you think about it. And then once that happens, the image is set. I don't know. Is the image recreated by the neurons? Because
Well,
the image
see,
itself doesn't come into your brain; it's electrical signals that your
oh,
brain then interprets.
yeah. I mean, this is the thing. It's not that your eyes are upside down, Ray. It's just that it's like when you look through a camera. You know, when you look through a lens, it flips the image because the lens is bringing stuff into a central point. What's on the top will be on the bottom, and what's on the bottom will be on the top. I mean, it's just the way a lens works.
Just
So,
optics.
yeah, I mean that's well known, and that image is shown on your retina, and it's upside down and back to front. So
Mm.
your brain just flips it around the right way. And people have had accidents and things where things go wrong in their brain and it's not flipped the wrong way any longer and it's upside down.
That would, jeez,
Yeah, yeah.
that
No, these kind of things have happened.
I
But what
bet.
what tends to happen is eventually the brain flips it back.
This is the most amazing thing about the human brain, is the ability that it has to protect itself and to heal itself. And when I say protect itself, I don't mean physically. I mean the way that our brains can protect us from trauma,
Hmm.
essentially just by, I mean, it can cause problems if it's sort of stays unresolved. But in the immediate aftermath of something really, really traumatic happening, whether it's emotional or whatever,
Mhm.
you go almost into shock. You go numb, and it's like you can't. I've had it. I've experienced it a few times with emotional trauma,
Mhm.
and it's like your brain disconnects somehow. There's a part of it that realizes that what's happened is so awful, but it just can't deal with it, and so it kind of closes. It it's almost like it closes off a little section of it, and I can remember
Oh,
something
I,
that.
I I know exactly what you're talking about, mate. Because
Mhm.
as a former police officer, right, I've seen some pretty horrific
I
sights.
can imagine.
Right. I mean,
We were
and I
talking about some of them last week.
yeah, and I'm not going to delve into them because some of them are really pretty horrific, right? And the thing is, you 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 see it, you move on, and you don't really process it because you don't have time. So what you do is you focus on doing your job, so you move on, and it's only afterwards when the gallows humor comes out. And I think that's a kind of, and you can shoot me down for this if anyone wishes to, but I think this is kind of thing where when I was in the police, it was almost exclusively a male dominated organization, right? And it was very much locker room humour when you got back to the office. And I think that helped,
I think it does. I
with
mean,
some
if
of
you,
these situations that you
yeah,
don't. I mean, as I progressed, or as I moved on in time through the police, more and more women were coming into it. And you can say what you like, but you cannot have the same atmosphere when you have a mixed group than when you have a single sex group.
no, you can't. Simple. I mean,
You
that's
just
not.
can't.
I mean that's not sexist or anything else. I'm sure that women would almost certainly agree.
Mhm.
Um, there are certain conversations and there's certain types of communication that happens among the sexes that the opposite sex is not even supposed to be able to understand. It's just women have their thing,
Yep.
guys have our thing. And I think in terms of gallows humor, it's actually unbelievably healthy
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
when you think about what humor is fundamentally,
Mhm.
humor is a response to awful things happening. I mean, look at like some of those candid camera or those gag reel shows on TV where the
Yeah.
most
Mhm.
awful thing happens to a person, and the only reaction that everybody around them has got is to piss themselves laughing.
Yeah.
But that's a way of processing
As
massive unpleasantness, and
yeah.
it's why having being able to laugh at yourself is really important, and also being just having a sense of humor,
I
being
know.
able to look at a really shit situation and just laugh because sometimes it's all you can do. It's like when the universe has
Hmm.
dumped the biggest amount of shit on you that you can imagine.
It's
And,
like,
I mean,
and this isn't anything really to do with it. But see that woman that was getting into my face today about China, right? About how I didn't understand what China was like and how it wasn't everything that I was led to believe from American and journalists and things like that. And I'm like, I've lived in China. I know what the Chinese are like. And she's like, well, I've got hundreds of people or hundreds of friends there, and they tell me exactly what it's like. But I've lived there, right? And she's like, well, you don't understand what it's like. And I'm like, I just love people on Twitter telling me what it's like in somewhere that I've already lived. It must be like that for you when you discuss Africa. When we discuss Africa, Ed, you know, if
I've
somebody says something about Africa that's completely out of kilter, for the part you lived in, you would be like that. That's not what Africa was like or is like.
But I mean, particularly with Africa, because it's like when we moved to Europe as kids, I was about 11 years old. This is
Yeah.
1984,
Hmm.
and the sort of reaction that you get from people when they say you've lived in Africa, some of them they ask you really stupid questions like, did you actually have running water, or did you live in a house or a mud hut, or did everyone have bones through their noses? All this kind of nonsense. I mean, some of it's jokes, obviously,
Yeah.
But some of the questions are serious, and you just think,
Did you have a slit? I can't say that word, can I?
nope.
Did you have a man? Did you have a man?
What
Did you have gardeners?
did we have? Did we have
Maids?
people working in the house? Yeah. No, I mean we had nannies and gardeners and
Oh,
cooks and
see,
cleaners.
we had maids as well when we lived in China because everything's so cheap.
Mm,
You know, I mean, my dad was in the Navy and we had a maid, you know.
yeah,
And I'm
I mean,
convinced I'm convinced she was stealing some of my cars to take to her son.
I mean, I had a rude awakening at the age of 11 because we moved to Europe, and then suddenly we had to make your own bed and do washing up
I
and all
know.
this kind of look like actually doing stuff rather than just sitting on your ass. I'm actually glad of that experience because I probably would have turned into an entitled little shit without it. But
Yeah. I mean, we used to go to the tailors and get my school trousers tailor made. That's how cheap everything was. I mean, there was just no point. You know, you might as well get them tailor made because they would fit. There was just no point in trying to find stuff off the shelf. It was incredible.
that and those sorts of experiences, it's like you said, you've got to have lived somewhere to understand it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one thing watching stuff on TV or talking to other people about stuff, but particularly with places, until you've actually been there and experienced it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sitting in a transit lounge at an airport doesn't count.
No, it doesn't. It
But
doesn't.
unless you've actually been there and experienced it and eaten the food and met the people
Yeah.
and talked to people, you could have no idea of what a place is like. I mean, I get that with Egypt, particularly with
Mhm.
the whole Muslim thing,
Mhm.
because there's a real because of circumstances at home, there is a certain current of anti-Muslim sentiment,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of assumptions that are made. You probably noticed that about
Yeah.
China, and there's a lot of assumptions about that are made about how people live and what they're like. And when you actually go to the place, you realize that these are some of the most friendly, welcoming, kind,
Yeah.
generous people that you're ever going to meet, and they would do anything for you. And then you come back home, and the ones criticizing them are really nasty people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just you can't.
Yeah, but what you've got to remember is when people are in their own country, right? They are different from when they're not. It's like Germans. Look at the Germans when they go on holiday. They suddenly become sunbed Nazis, right? I mean, they really do, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's like people have that. I mean, look at the British when they go on holiday, or in particular the English. It's like, where can I get some decent food? You're in Spain. Try the local food, you know. Try the calamari. You
God.
might like it. You don't need to eat bacon and beans every bloody day.
Exactly, and it's like paella.
Yeah,
Paella, in
paella is
Spanish.
great.
And it's like you're
Great.
sitting there in a lovely Spanish restaurant, and you've just ordered egg and chips, and literally they do the most amazing prawns and boquerones and all kinds of stuff, and you're sitting there eating freaking egg and chips. Why even go to Spain?
Why bother? Yeah, why
Yeah.
bother? If you won't try the local cuisine. But although, having said that, you have to draw the line at some of the street food and stuff that they eat in China. And in fact, some of the stuff they eat in China is it's just too hardcore, you know, to even talk about. In fact, we're not going to go. We're going to go back into dreams. Let's go
Yeah,
into
let's
dreams.
let's go.
Right.
Let's go.
I'm
back
going to tell you
dreams.
about a dream I used to have when I was about 14 or 15. Right.
This is not going to be one of your perverted wet dreams, is it?
Have I ever told you about such a dream that I may or may not have had? No, I haven't.
I'm just saying. This is a family show.
Yes, I know it's a family show, but it is beyond a watershed.
Oh,
Anyway,
that's
so,
very
so I used to have this dream round about 14, 15, maybe something like that. Okay, and it was a recurring dream, and it was kind of terrifying yet strangely exciting at the same time. So I would be in what appeared at first to be a giant cavern, right? But as I moved further in and the light got better, I then discovered it wasn't a cavern, it was a massive hall in a giant spaceship, and at the far end was a seat with a giant alien in it, right? Have you ever seen Alien, the movie, when they go into the alien spaceship?
Multiple times.
Almost exactly like that, right? Almost exactly like that. And that I had that dream for like 6 or 7 months.
It's
But the problem was, I would be dreaming that in 1976, and Alien didn't come out until 1979.
that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, the imagery in Alien is based on H.R. Geiger's art.
Yeah, but I was
So-
at 15. I wasn't
No,
reading.
you're not going to.
I wasn't reading. I wasn't reading. Wait till you hear this. No, wait till you hear this. I wasn't reading H.R. Geiger. I was reading Sven Hassel and Wheels of Terror and all that sort of stuff.
I'm not surprised you're having bad bloody dreams. Jeez, you know there was.
Oh, Dennis Wheatley, The Devil Rides Out. I went through all the Dennis Wheatley stuff. I did. I tried Stephen King and disregarded him because the man is a really annoying writer. One, he finds it very difficult to get to an ending, and two, he spends what could be days on exposition. But I'd read Lord of the Rings. I loved the Sven Hassel stuff. That was brilliant. I just ate it all up. What's his name? Eagles, Where Eagles Dare and all that. Those books. Alistair MacLean.
that's the
MacLean. Read all them. Tom Clancy later on and all that. But yeah, so when I was younger, I was reading some weird stuff because I'd finished with the Famous Five and the Secret Seven by the time I was 10. You know, that was done, that was out, and I just moved on.
Yeah, my granny used to buy me books. But did you ever have dreams, the immobile dreams, where you got something really scary happening and you want to run and you can't run, or you can, or the other one that's worse that I get is where you're really angry and you want to punch someone or something and you can't connect with the punch, no matter how much energy you put into the punch. It just comes out like that video of Keir Starmer
Like
punching
Keir
a
Starmer,
punching
yeah.
bag. That's such a good analogy for it.
Bad man. You bad man. Put some effort into it, Keir.
But I think that's sleep paralysis, because that's the
Yeah.
thing too, that
Yeah.
because our brain, which is also mad when you think about it, because your brain is so active that your body has to paralyze itself. Otherwise, you'd be like, you would be an impossible person to sleep with, and you would probably wake yourself up because of moving around. But then when you actually perceive that in a dream, it's really bloody scary. Especially, I mean, one of my recurring dreams as a child was it was basically a house that was kind of like the house that some friends of my parents owned in Zambia.
Mhm.
And it was big garden, very, very dark. And I just remember being in this garden, absolutely terrified that there was something moving towards me and I didn't know what it was and I couldn't run away from it. And when I tried to run, it was just, you basically can't move.
Yeah.
So
And then there's the one with the hag that sits on your chest. That's quite a common one as well. I haven't experienced it. No, I haven't experienced that either.
I've heard about it, but it makes you wonder what the purposes of these dreams are. Is it and
Well, see
also-
that right. So this is the point. Are dreams real? Right? Because
but that depends on what you mean by what's
Well,
real. I mean,
so the question is it another dimension?
Maybe. I mean, it's certainly another dimension of thought if you think about it.
Oh
in
yeah,
those terms.
yeah. But so let's look at some of the experiments the CIA have done. Okay.
Mhm.
Or in fact, let's look at some of the famous inventors first. So the Medvedev, I think, or something like that, a Russian guy who did the periodic table, right? He'd been working on it, wasn't getting anywhere. Decides to go for a nap, wakes up, and immediately writes down the dream he's just had, which is the periodic table. And it was almost exactly complete. I think they had to make one change to make it work. So
that's like
this
Francis
came to
Crick.
him. So this came to him in his dream, right? Now, Edison used to nap. He would go to sleep in a chair holding a steel ball, right? And as he dropped off to sleep, his hand would release and release and release, and eventually the steel ball would drop to the ground and wake him up. Because he never went into deep sleep. So what happened was he solved all his problems in this dream state before he would go into deep sleep.
Well,
And he used that as a technique, and so did Einstein. Einstein used that as well.
Well, supposedly Tesla used like Hindu meditation techniques and stuff, because he talked a lot about,
Yeah.
because Tesla used to say that the devices that he built and the ideas that he had basically came to him from elsewhere. And if you look at Francis Crick, who co-invented or co-discoverer of the DNA double helix, he actually had that idea when he met Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
And it makes you wonder just how many of these like breakthrough scientific discoveries or breakthrough ideas have been as a result of an altered dream, almost dreamlike state of consciousness.
Yeah, do you never wake up sometimes and think, well, that's a fantastic idea. I'm gonna look into that in the morning, right? You've had this brilliant idea. And then you go back to sleep. And then you wake up again in the morning and you go, I had a brilliant idea last night, but I have no fucking idea what it was.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've had that both with dreams and also mind-altering substances as well.
Yeah.
And the
You've
worst
got to
one,
write it down at the time.
yeah, but when you write it down at the time and you read it back to yourself the next day,
It's like,
it doesn't
what is this
make any
nonsense?
But then that begs another interesting question: is how much is the dream state like some of the altered states of consciousness that you can get through
Ayahuasca and stuff like that.
or certain. I mean, from my own experiences, they're very different.
Right.
But is the dream world? I mean, one of my big questions is when we die, is how do we perceive it? Do we perceive it as if we're falling asleep and then some sort of weird dream happens, which is whatever's in between lives, if there's reincarnation, or does it just switch off like a television? Or I don't know. I mean, do we perceive it as if we're dreaming?
Look at anesthesia. Have you had a general anesthetic before?
Yeah, but only many years ago.
So I had one fairly recently, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. It's the first time I'd ever had a general, and I hated it, right? Because it's like somebody just flicked a switch and you were off. There was, you know how when you go for a nap or a sleep or whatever, when you wake up, you always know there's been a passage of time, right? I mean, like I had a brief nap on the couch this evening for an hour or so, and then I got up, and when I woke up, I thought, shit, I've got a show to do with Ed, but it was only like 7:30. So there's always the knowledge that time has passed, right? And you never feel that you've been unduly out of it. You know, you know that everything's still going on. But when you get a general anaesthetic, it's like somebody just turned the switch off. And then suddenly you're awake. And for me, it was 1 minute I was bump out, and next minute, bang. You're 100% all going saying, what the fuck happened there? Right? And it was the scariest thing ever.
But how much is that actually like? I mean, obviously, you can't answer the question. How much is that like being dead? Because you've never been dead. But is it because I mean the anaesthetic essentially it's like Novocaine or lidocaine, all of the coca derivative.
I don't know what general. It's a mix.
No.
It's a cocktail usually, right?
Yeah.
But it seems to shut you down, right? Which is just freaking horrible.
But is it? I mean, does it actually shut you down, or is it just interfering with the signals going to your brain? Because
What you mean? It's just cutting the reception.
well, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of the reasons that I found the Matrix, the original Matrix film, so profound when it first came out, is that it actually raises a lot of these questions. I mean, the part just after Neo's been, have you got that video?
This
Watch that quickly. That's
Indeed.
so when you're under a general anesthetic, does that interfere with those electrical signals?
I
Because
guess
that,
it does, yeah.
but then it also kind of puts you to sleep, so it must. I don't know. I mean, I
Yeah, well, I
don't know
think
how.
sleep's...
I'm not an anaesthetist, so I don't
no,
technically
no,
know how these things work.
and neither am I, but I would say sleep is the wrong term to be used there, because I don't think it's anything like sleep. Sleep's a natural process, and sleep's a weird thing because it's something you can put off, right? I mean, you can keep yourself awake, and you can do it through willpower, and you can do it through caffeine and stuff like that, right? But ultimately, sleep will overtake you, right? You will sleep. You can't not sleep.
And you have to as well. I mean,
You have to, yeah.
The experiments that have been done with sleep deprivation, and when people go without sleep for too long, it has really harmful. I mean, you start hallucinating and losing your mind, and this is why I've always thought that when we're asleep, our brain must take information that we've kind of gathered while we're awake, whatever that is, sound, smells, etc., and it must shuffle it off into like some other storage part of the brain, because those memories don't go away.
Yeah.
They're still available. I mean, in the case of trauma, the brain will protect itself, and those memories can be really hard to access. But I mean, just in the case of, say, a shopping list, it's like if I make a shopping list on a Thursday, then I come Friday, I can still, I mean, even though I've written it all down, I can still remember the stuff that I had on the shopping list, even though I've been to sleep. So those memories are still available, but it's like it declutters. It sort of puts. It's like a messy child's room. There was a tweet from a parent. I think it might have been Clammy on Twitter, saying that she'd spent 7 hours cleaning her son's room, and I mean, after thinking to myself, how much freaking mess is this kid making? The sort of cluttered room analogy.
Did you have to saw the sheets up?
Oh, Christ, I don't know if she had to build a new freaking bed or something. Or bleach the whole place, or repaint the walls. I don't know. Whoever that kid is.
Never go in there with a black light. Never. Don't do it.
But it does. It's the cluttered room analogy. It's like when we're awake during the day, our brains pick up loads of this clutter, and then when we're asleep at night, I think our brains decide what stuff it can just get rid of.
Oh yeah, I think it can do that, but I'm not necessarily thinking that the dream state is it doing that, because I think the dream state might, and some of the things that we've got still to be exposed here indicate that there's more to dreams than you think. In fact, one of the dreams I had that I cannot explain and cannot understand at all. I had a dream. I was in a plane, right? We'd just taken off. I was sitting at the window seat. I was looking out. The plane was climbing into the sky and tilting to the left. I could see the green fields, and then suddenly I couldn't see the sky. All I could see was the green fields, right? And the yellow flame that was coming back from the engines towards underneath me, outside, right? So all I could see was fire coming from the wing and the green fields and maybe a farm building or something, and then the green fields got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the next thing, boom, you're up, right? And 3 months later, Concorde crashed in France.
Oh, that's weird.
And it was exactly the same as my dream when I saw the plane.
That's
banked and boom.
Yeah. No, I don't remember that happening. This is the crazy thing about dreams, because it's not uncommon for, I mean, it's like you have lucid dreaming,
Yeah.
for example, and also some of the remote viewers I mean, isn't that sort of
Right. So the lucid dreaming stuff, yeah, that's good because people sorry, people try and do that, don't they? Because they want to have fun in their dreams, and if once you're in a dream and you know you're in a dream, you can pretty
especially if
much
it,
do anything. Right? I mean, we're talking Inception type stuff. So obviously, our friends at the CIA, they just love this shit. They really do, right? So they thought, right, lucid dreaming. Well, there's a couple of reasons they went into the lucid dreaming. First of all, the Russians were going into this not extrasensory perception, but extra human capabilities or something they called it, right? So the Russians were really into this because the Russians thought that if they could get people to lucid dream, they could communicate with each other without the need for a radio, right? So,
mm,
so when you think about the military implications, of that are immense.
mm,
Because if you've got somebody sleeping on a submarine and somebody sleeping in a bunker in Russia, and you can just go to sleep and go, fire the missile, right? And the guy wakes up and goes, fire the missile. I mean, without any radio communication, no chance of interception, right? Or you're on the moon base, like the Russians have that moon base, remember? But anyway, you know what I mean. So the Russians were really into this, and of course the CIA thought, well, we've got to get into this as well. So the CIA started doing experiments, and they did a lot of experiments, and that's where you find out that they started with the whole, what's going on in the brain when you're sleeping and all that, and this part is shutting down, and this part's firing up, and all this kind of stuff, and then they started giving people, they started asking remote viewers to do stuff in their dreams. So they would say to a remote viewer, well, what I want you to do is open the sealed envelope in the room next door in your dream and tell me what's in it.
mm.
And they were getting something like 80% positive results.
Some of those remote viewers are what they've been able to see.
Right.
It's you have to think there's something to it. This is
Oh,
not
yeah,
just,
yeah.
there's
So,
no possibility that these people are making it up.
so these results were really, really impressive. And then the CIA comes up with the idea that, well, maybe we can actually do more than just maybe we could do more than just look at information.
Like
Maybe we
set
can
fire to the envelope.
no, maybe we can start tasking people to do things. So they started putting people into dream states, and they would wear goggles, and they'd have lights that they would flash at them. Once
That's
their
like
eyes,
Manchurian candidate
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, but once their eyes were in REM, they would flash the lights, and you could see the lights flashing, even though your eyes are closed and you're sleeping. You can see the eyes flash. If you do that with your eyes shut, you can see it flickering, right? So the people would know in their dream state that they were being contacted from the outside, and they were told to do specific eye movements to indicate that they'd received and understood. So now you've got direct communication between the outside world and your dream state. This is Inception level stuff that we're starting to get into. Then they started planting ideas into people's heads while they were in dream states, and they took, like they would say to people, as they're going to sleep, you drop off, and then they would say, eat an orange jelly when you wake up, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And people would get up and go, can I go to the canteen? What do you want to go to the canteen for? I want some orange jelly.
It's actually, I mean,
That's
yeah.
creepy.
Well, it's also creepy is how they've ended up utilizing all of this information that they gathered, because that's one of the reasons that TV commercials are a specific length, and
Yeah.
also why things are, you have the repetition that you get from the media as well.
Yeah.
And that's why they call it TV programming, because they're programming people. And
Yeah.
then there's the less subtle stuff like what is it? Subliminal messaging.
Mhm.
Where
Yeah. Well, they're just flashing something up and you
Yeah.
can't even see it.
but it also works with marketing. It's like where you have movies and then suddenly there's a can of Coke flashed in front of the screen
Oh,
or something
product
like that.
placement.
Well, not
Yeah,
just product placement, but they do it in such a way that it's picked up by your peripheral vision.
yeah,
And it's like the different parts of our vision seem to go into different parts of our brain as well. Um, because you've got the stuff that you can see right in front of you, which is your immediate perception.
yeah.
But then you have this sort of edge of your field of vision where instinctively humans, I mean, there's potentially important stuff happening there, like
Hmm.
things chasing you, or there might be a lion or some predator or something like that if we're talking about the lizard brain. And so that edge of our sort of field of vision, the brain is actually really sensitive to that, to what's going on there. I mean, it's, what are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at Frankie having some kind of meltdown. It's like I've been to the shop, right, and then they go, "Yes, I'm speaking in real time, but I think I'm 10 minutes behind on the stream." They're having an existential crisis.
Maybe I don't know, technology. Don't blame us for YouTube messing with your brain, people. It's not our fault. YouTube probably do it deliberately to mess with people.
They probably do. They probably do. Right. Let's. We've got. I might as well use these because we did.
Hmm.
The,
Yeah, pretty much. Not quite. I guess if it's a really dark, stormy day, that might look a little bit like San Francisco. Although admittedly in the machine world, there's far less homeless people.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's true. They've all got a nice, comfy bed, haven't they? So the question is, right? The question is, if that was the case, could you tell the difference? Could you?
We couldn't.
No, you couldn't. Could you?
I mean, we. The
And you
only
think of the times that you're in dreams where it seems so real that when you wake up, it's like, oh wow, that was just a dream.
Well, that's one of the reasons The Matrix was and
Yeah,
is such a profound film,
yeah.
because it kind of asks and in a way attempts to answer some of these questions as the sort of subplot to all of the action and the machines and stuff like that. But this whole notion that you could stick a techno spike in your head and get hooked up to a machine, and suddenly it's Mark Zuckerberg's wet dream. I mean, it's like if you look at some of these, particularly since the Oculus and the Apple one have come out, and you see some of these monks
Oh,
walking
there's
around with
more
these
coming out. Right.
just
So there's something coming out called the Halo, and there's something else coming out, and they are designed to let you lucid dream. Right.
I yeah, I
So
don't know.
they're not they are non-invasive
Right.
devices that will sit around your head, right, and will allegedly allow
Oh,
you to go into a lucid dream state.
and
I'm game for that. I'll try it. I'll try
yeah,
it.
I
I
want
would try
to.
that.
First of all, I want to find out who put in the seed money for the company and who runs it, and if there's any connections with people like Incutel, which is the CIA tech financing front.
Uh-huh.
Because that's just like, oh yeah, the CIA are like, let's just give them these devices. We'll tell them they can lucid dream, and then we can control them, and we can have a
Well,
whole
that's
load of bloody winter soldiers. No, not winter soldiers. Manchurian candidates. Because I mean, the
yeah.
whole.
See, yeah.
So do you think that, because obviously the Manchurian Candidate is a couple of good films and a book.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
The
now,
Jason Bourne movies as well. They're the same.
well, Jason Bourne's those are different, because with those
Similar.
he loses his memory.
Yeah.
He's on a
Oh,
boat.
he's reprogrammed. He's reprogrammed.
Well, he's first of all he's reprogrammed, and then he loses his memory.
Yeah.
And I mean that's fascinating too. I mean, there's stories
MK
of,
Ultra.
well, I mean, the amount of money that's gone into these things, and also some of these patsies, some of these lone nut assassins. Sirhan comes to mind. There's also a guy called Volker de Graaf, who was the guy who shot.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a Dutch politician, Pim Fortuyn, and he was shot in the early noughties, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and some of these. What about some of these? I don't know if you can use the word. Shall we say, learning institutions shootings? What about some
Yeah.
of them? I know they're young, but why couldn't they have
Well,
been?
there's supposedly there's a connection between a lot of those and certain antidepressant medications.
Oh, is that, yeah, right,
produced
yeah, yeah. There is.
by
You're
our
right.
friend,
You're right.
our not friends, our
And
enemies at Big
no,
Pharma.
you're right. That's a good point, Ed. And I've forgotten about that because it's when they come off them. You can't come off these. You can't go cold turkey, and that's what they do. They try and go cold turkey, and they go nuts.
And some of
And
them
it's
have
like
wild side effects too.
yeah, it's like antidepressants. Never go cold turkey off antidepressants. And this is not medical advice, but don't do it, right? Because if you go cold turkey off antidepressants, I'm trying to think how to phrase this, but what it can do is it can, because you're going cold turkey off it, it can put you into a depression, right? And it can give you enough gumption to actually follow through, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you don't go cold turkey off antidepressants if you're ever on them.
Inhibition, and then especially when you're
Yeah.
somewhere like the United States where you've got easy access to firearms.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Don't.
also, I mean, if you look at the rates of prescription of those sorts of things.
Oh
in the
yeah. I mean, it's
US,
crazy. It's crazy.
and I mean, humans have lived perfectly fine without those things.
But then
for
there's but you're right.
millennia.
You're right, and there are. I mean, they're coming out with studies all the time saying that mucking with your brain chemistry doesn't help, right? So these antidepressant things aren't necessarily an aid. They're just masking a symptom, but they're not really getting to the root cause and fixing the problems. And that's where dream therapy for PTSD seems to work. And another thing that really works that I can't say, right? And in fact, oh, hold on a minute. I've just noticed there might be a mushroom growing down there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's been the thing is that there are reputable, scientifically backed studies into the use of these
Yeah.
unmentionable
Fungi.
substances.
Fungi.
The funky fungi
Yeah.
that were actually PTSD, where soldiers and stuff
And to stop addictions, drug addictions as well.
absolutely. And I actually think it's criminal that these things are outlawed, and that even, I mean, because you can't even study them scientifically
But
properly.
of course they're outlawed because they're natural products, and you can't patent a natural product.
Exactly.
It's not until you've actually got an artificial substitute that any pharma company's interested in it, because you can't make money on a natural product.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I mean, that's criminal.
That's criminal.
And it's also, I mean,
It's greed.
absolutely. But greed is going to be the end of all of us.
Yeah, it probably will.
Whether that's greed for money or greed for power.
Frankie's still not got to my thing about him having an existential crisis, because he says, I'm enjoying the chat, but I'm thinking behind 15 minutes.
Oh, dear.
I don't know if he is, though. I don't know if he is, because that appeared just after the mushies, a great thing from Brit, mate.
Well, I know YouTube is. There's a
I'd
few
like to study
seconds-
them, Johnny and John. I'd like to study them, but because of my because of my upbringing and previous occupations, I have no contacts in these fields. I don't know where to get any of this stuff. Anyway, if you can, hit me up. What was I going to say?
Don't say things like that. I'd end up with wine all over my keyboard. That would be bad.
The CIA are all over this. They love this kind of stuff. They really do, and there's an awful lot behind it. That seems to be coming true. And I think they probably find that all the stuff that's been released is really old research, obviously because it's fallen
Well,
out.
I think you only have to look at the last 4 years to see a lot of that research being put into practice, particularly starting in 2020,
Yeah.
where it kind of, I mean, it's always been there. If you once you sort of woke up to the rabbit holes and the fact that we're being lied to about everything, and you see the media for what it was, then you can see through it. But they've kind of ramped it up
Yeah.
significantly.
So,
And also, there's sorry, just
yeah,
one more
yeah,
thing. There was a
go on.
brilliant interview that I saw at the beginning of the whole coup period, which was actually a stage hypnotist that he did a breakdown of the government's fear propaganda posters,
Yeah, yeah.
and he went through it, and he said, look, he was a stage hypnotist in the 90s, and he said that with stage hypnotism, the show starts before you even actually enter the theater where
Uh-huh.
the hypnotist is, that the posters and the marketing material is
Yeah,
specifically designed to get your brain into a specific space
yeah,
before you even start the show. And he was comparing his posters and the posters that the government was putting out, and the kind of colors and the sort of imagery. It was just like mind control,
yeah,
effectively.
yeah.
And if you think about the scale of the mind control
Mm-hmm.
and the ongoing nature of the mind control,
Mm-hmm.
because the mind control shifted seamlessly from the coup to the Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you notice that too? How it was almost like
Oh, yeah, yeah,
someone snapped their fingers, and suddenly there's no more of that, and hey, there's
yeah,
this new thing,
yeah.
and everyone suddenly had flags out, and the whole, it's just like, hang on a minute,
Yeah, I
wait,
mean, there's still
cut,
there's,
hello.
there's still a Ukraine flag flying over the town square here. I mean, it's like fuck off. I mean, these people are like, it's
Oh,
like ridiculousness. It really
that's
is ridiculous.
that
And then
that one's not going
well,
to age well.
you know what the current thing is, So I mean, it just
Mm,
switches to the next current thing, and
yeah,
the only reason that keeps going back to Ukraine is because Mr. P isn't taking any shite. In fact, it seems to be ramping things up now. But anyway,
dreams.
let's get back to dreams and the CIA and dream tasking. Okay, so you then put people into these sleep states, hypnagogic state between proper deep sleep and wakefulness, and then they would give them the idea to go somewhere, and check something out and whatever, right? And people would go to these places, and sometimes they wouldn't go to. They would go to the place and everything would be fine, and they'd actually report back, and it'd be like an 80% hit rate. But then they would go somewhere, and it's like they took a wrong turn or something, and they end up in somewhere that they don't recognise, right? And people come and take them out of there and put them back where they should be, right?
Hmm.
As if they've gone into a part of the dimension that they shouldn't be in. And then you get the reports from the ones that go, I walked through a door and there was a demon with eyes 400 feet apart looking at me, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's people that do ayahuasca and DMT that quite frequently report contact with some sort of creature. I mean, they have various different names for it, but the thing about it is that a lot of the stories and a lot of the things that people talk about
Hmm.
are actually very similar.
Yeah.
And the descriptions that they give of these, this is where some of this lizard people stuff comes from.
Yeah.
And I mean, David Icke talks about it quite a lot, but he's not the only one. And more to the point, there's a lot of people that have actually experienced it themselves and come back from this experience and say, yeah, I encountered some sort of creature and it wasn't particularly nice. But then,
I'm sorry. Your mate is winding you up again.
shut up, John. Just shut up, John. Honestly.
Right, sorry. Yeah, the lizard people. I know. I mean, here's a question though that I meant to ask earlier, and I'm sorry, people. I should have asked it earlier when we were just getting into the kind of why do we even sleep thing. What about things like dolphins, right, and whales? Okay, now they do sleep, but they
But
don't
do they?
sleep. They don't sleep for long, do they? And seals and stuff like that. Well, seals can pull out, but dolphins.
But what about cats?
Ah,
Cats. I mean,
are cats
cats.
ever awake?
That's a fair point. But I mean, because you see videos occasionally popping up on social media of dogs that are asleep, that where their legs are going and they look like they're running and
Yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Aye,
So I mean, and if dogs dream,
yeah,
then you would think, I mean, do elephants dream?
probably.
And which would suggest that whales must dream, and
Yeah, yeah. But my point is, they can't sleep in any lengthy. They can't like get a good solid 8 hours because they drown.
yeah, but humans, you don't have to start. You don't need 8 hours of sleep to start
No, I
dreaming.
know.
I mean,
No, no, no. I know. I know.
if for whatever reason biologically they're able to they're able to go into a deep sleep much quicker and require less of that sleep. Where if you're a smaller creature with a smaller brain, then maybe you need less sleep, for example. But maybe they still dream. But then the more fascinating question is, what does an elephant dream of?
Luscious grass. I don't know. Having
Do
a
they?
shower.
Well, exactly. I mean,
Hold on. Your mate's apparently sending me links. Don't send links in the chat, John. Put them in Twitter or something like that because one, I'm not opening links on the chat, and there's always a chance they get blocked by YouTube's automatic software type stuff. So send me links by all means, but please do it at Collator, at Acolator on Twitter if you don't mind, or or whatever, somewhere. You can email me at john@chasingdescent.com. That's there. Right.
yeah.
Sorry, Ed. What?
No, I'm just about to apologise for the fact that my best mate's now probably going to spam the shit out of you to the point he drives you insane.
No, it's okay. I'm well versed with the tools for blocking stalkers.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, maybe sometimes a little bit.
Right, wait. Hold on. I know I interrupted you there, and I need to. But, right, let's play this one. This one's good. It's foretelling our doom.
Well, this is late 90s this came out, and AI was not just in its
Was it not
infancy,
80? Was
no,
the
it was
Matrix?
no, it was 96,
Was it 90s?
97, 98,
Yeah,
something
right.
like
96. Okay, something like
that.
that. AI.
Well, the thing is that AI was basically just a gleam in its father's ball bag at that
Mm-hmm.
point. And there was rudimentary machine learning and stuff, nothing like the large language models and so-called generative AI that we've got now. But even so, even the AI that we've got now, it's unfortunately, I don't know if governments have something more powerful and sophisticated, but currently it's not artificially intelligent.
It's not intelligent.
It looks like it is. I mean, it passed the Turing test, but that just means we'd need to update the Turing test.
Yeah, I think so.
But
I mean, if you look at, and they're all stealing each other's code. I mean, Grok's just a lifter. Chat GPT. It's even got Chat GPT error messages in it.
yeah, and it has the same kind of. It just has
Some kind of
ChatGPT
rubbishy
with,
stuff.
well, it's they've layered on top a kind of like, I don't know, sort of Elon Musky type personality where it's trying to be cool and it just sounds a bit lame. And
Well, that's kind of like Musk, isn't it? He tries to be cool, and he just sounds a bit lame.
So I don't I just asked you a question. I don't need a load of attitude, thank you very much. And if you want it to be serious, you have to tell it to be serious. And it's just like, oh, come on. When I was thinking something more along the lines of the Star Trek computer that was actually bloody useful, and you could just ask it natural language
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, so you're thinking that, and what we actually got was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, nailed it. Yeah, that's exactly it. Although I think it's slightly more insane than Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because this is like Hitchhiker's Guide to Clown World.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, dear. But then here's an interesting thought to bake your noodle.
Go on.
As and when an AI is created, would that AI dream?
Do
I guess
androids dream of electric sheep?
Well, I mean, the thing is that they don't need to dream because they don't have to sleep.
Well, why don't they have to sleep? Don't they need downtime?
Well, I'm not sure that humans are inventing. I don't.
Well,
What's
right.
the point? What's the point in having an
hold
android
on.
if it needs
Yeah.
downtime?
But hold on a minute. Windows needs downtime.
That's true. And all the
'Cause-
droids in Star Trek needed to be recharged.
Yeah, because if you run your Windows like I do for 2 or 3 days without rebooting it, okay, you're just putting it to sleep. At the end of 3 days, it's fucked. It just can't go on. It's had enough. You've got to restart it.
Oh, I shut my laptop down every night.
Yeah, I know, but I just put it to sleep generally, and I mean, sleep just puts it into hibernation, so it wakes up with almost exactly the same memory load and usage and windows open, that, you know, like 83 and a half tabs open in Google and all that. But anyway,
It also depends on what you're doing with it.
Well, yeah.
I have a separate server that I run as a media server, and that probably gets shut down 3 times a year for me to.
yeah, but that's not
clean it out.
that's not doing a lot, right? Okay, whereas my PC is doing everything, right? I mean, it's doing video editing, it's doing streaming, it's doing research, it's doing YouTube, it's doing everything, right? And after about 3 days, it's done. It's fucked. If you don't restart it, you're not going to get a
Okay,
reasonable.
here's a question for you. On average, how many browser tabs do you have open at one time?
On average, well, I have 3 different browsers that I use for different reasons. So I have a Brave browser open, I have a Google Chrome browser open, and I have a Firefox browser open, right? Each of those has in the region of 15 tabs open.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I do. I mean, if I'm using DaVinci, which is quite a beefy part of software, I do tend to close it and close it right out when I'm finished with it, to free up some resources.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a tab Nazi. I'll generally, if I have more than about 7 or 8 tabs open,
You see, the problem
starts
is
to go a bit squiggly.
The problem is I'm using them all. You know, like I need 3 tabs open in YouTube Studio for the 3 different things, because I've got one for the live stream, one for the dashboard, and then one for Ben's channel. And the problem is I need a different browser for that, because you can't have 2 channels open in the same browser unless you go incognito, right? So.
Right.
And then if you can't really sign in as incognito, because then nothing sticks. So you're better, you know where you can see where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, there you go. Right. So where are we? Let's go back to the Matrix. Let's finish that off. I think there's only one left now, is there? Oh no, there's 2 left.
Oh, that is so true. Fate is not without a sense of irony.
Indeed.
In fact, fate is quite often a sarcastic, ironic, facetious wanker.
Indeed, it is. There you go. So, if anything would make me believe that a computer generated dream world existed, it would be Keanu Reeves in that movie because
Mm,
he's good, but he's not great. You know what I mean? He
yeah,
could he could be AI himself.
well, yeah, and I think that that's part of because all of them were quite young to start with, um, and also a little bit more rough around the edges than they are now.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think it was also intentional on the part of the
yeah.
directors
Yeah, it probably was.
because their whole because it almost has an anime manga kind of cartoony sort of
Yeah, it
vibe to
does.
it.
The Wachowskis.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think they were going for a particular look, but there are some fascinating questions that it asks because it's like when Neo is waking up and he can't deal with it.
Yeah,
That's almost that it's like the ultimate cognitive dissonance.
yeah,
And when you look at what's happened over the last 3 or 4 years, going back longer, depending on how long back you've been researching this sort of stuff, you get a small version of that with, let's call them the normies.
hmm
And when you hit someone with a piece of information that is so contradictory to everything, because it's not just to what they believe, but it's they've kind of constructed a whole worldview around it, for example, and then you come in and you try and poke holes in that, or trying to explain to people that most of what they learnt in school was nonsense
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
actual verifiable nonsense in a lot
yeah,
of cases, um, and they will still refuse to believe it. And
yeah.
it's easier and it's more comfortable to hold on to their existing worldview than it is to have that worldview challenged. And I think that particularly that last scene with Neo, where he just can't deal with the information that he's been given. It's like, no, what you thought was reality is not reality. This is reality, and it kind of sucks, and the world's not what we thought it was. And but buckle up, Buttercup, because you're the one. And
Yeah, you've
um,
got a lot more work to do.
and then he goes to that Oracle lady, um, and I mean, just the movies are so good. Once you got to 2 and 3, they kind of got a bit crap, but the first one is an absolute masterpiece.
Yeah, the first one is brilliant.
And I mean, it's not the best acting in the world and stuff like that, but the story is massively original.
hmm
And it's still relevant because this whole question. I mean, we have to worry about machines taking over the world even more now than we did in the late 90s. In the late 90s, it was like Terminator, and it was all sort of pipe dream. This is going to happen in however many years, and we're now however many years past that, and this stuff is happening, and the whole world is going to hell in a handbasket. I mean, I saw a video yesterday of a Chinese drone swarm that was
hmm
hundreds of these bloody things moving in perfect synchronization, and you imagine even just a hand grenade, and you have 200 of these things that have all got hand grenades on them. You don't need a big bomb if you've got lots of little bombs.
Did you see the Russian guy with the backpack?
Yeah. The four?
Yeah, the anti.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's basically a jammer, isn't
Mm,
it?
yeah, but they've also got this. There was another one where the Russians developed a drone gun that actually blasts out some sort of something or other. I mean, obviously not a projectile, some sort of energy beam, radio
All right, cool.
frequency, whatever,
Yeah,
and knocks these drones out. But there was another one. They've all got shotguns now as well. I
yeah,
think I think whoever manufactures shotguns for the military in Russia is laughing because they did. It's like clay pigeon shooting,
yeah.
except that
Pull.
yeah, except for the fact that the clay pigeon is being run by your opponent who's
Yeah, the clay pigeon can shoot back.
yeah. Well, it doesn't. It's not that so much that it can shoot back, but it can just go straight up your bumhole and ruin your whole day.
Yeah.
And I mean, this drone. I don't know. I saw something on Twitter of someone saying that drones in war need to be outlawed, but that's not going to happen. Let's face it.
Why would they do? Well, cluster munitions were outlawed, and yet they're still using them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's war changes. It's like we went from knights on horseback in armor to soldiers with cannons and muskets
It evolves.
to automatic weapons to machine guns to missiles and nuclear weapons and ICBMs and now drones, and God knows what they've got in store for us when World War III starts. I
Indeed.
have wondered whether the sort of Western powers, particularly the Americans, have just been getting rid of all of their old crap that they don't need anymore because they've got some sort of super secret something or other waiting in the wings. But it never comes out, and you'd think that they're about to suffer a rather large defeat in a certain part of the world. And you'd think maybe they would bring some of this stuff out, but maybe
Well, they've kind of backed themselves into a hole here, haven't they? You know, they've been at it so long now, and what they've done is they've basically the things they thought that would hamper Russian industry and production have actually helped it.
Yeah.
Right.
And now
So
they're
that-
just doing more of the same.
Yeah, so that's backfired massively. They've done nothing but hamper their own productions because everything's gone sky high and they can't get anything, you know, like energy and whatever. So yeah, they haven't really helped themselves at all. It was a pretty ill thought out strategy. And to be fair, the US doesn't have a great record on strategy abroad.
And it's getting worse. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is that even 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, I mean, there were people warning. There's that memo, thanks to WikiLeaks, and let's just say a big, excellent well
Yeah.
done to Julian Assange for getting out without being in a box like other people. But thanks to WikiLeaks, we know about a cable from then
Yeah.
US ambassador to Moscow, William Burns, who's now CIA director, I think.
He is, Bill Burns. Yeah.
And he basically, the memo is famously entitled "Niet means Niet," saying, don't do this. And if you do this, it's going to be bad. And that's what's happened because smart people were not listened to. And here we are.
Yeah.
But we're straying away from dreams again.
Yeah,
We're
Bill.
good at
We are, but Bill Burns should be the foreign secretary and not the head of the CIA. To be fair.
Well, he seems to act like it a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
let's face it. The rest of them are. They
hopeless.
are a clown show, aren't they? They really are.
It's the state of US leadership, well, just Western leadership. And I mean, we've now got Mark Rutte and Kaya Kallas just being two of the like the least suitable people to have the jobs that they've got. And I mean, it's like Kaya Kallas, she's about as diplomatic as a punch in the face.
Yeah.
Literally. I mean, I weep for the future.
What was I going to say? What do you think's going to happen tonight at the debate?
Well, I don't know what they will have had to have pumped Joe Biden.
Apparently they're not using auto cues either.
Oh no, he's going to have an earpiece. He'll have a cleverly disguised earpiece, and most likely he'll have someone like Obama.
It's really hard to talk eloquently when you've got an earpiece on.
I don't know. They've drugged him up so much. I was gonna say something that I probably shouldn't say on YouTube relating to blood transfusions.
Oh yeah, okay. I know where you're going.
I mean, the fact that he's even doing it, he's not. I mean, if you saw him at the G8, or the G7 rather, I know.
in
Italy, I mean, it's like he's deteriorating really fast, and they want this guy to do another 4 years. Oh, good luck with that.
I think he's going to pull out. I still think he's going to pull out, and Gavin Newsom will be running as president.
Oh yeah, and that's going to be as good as Keir Starmer running the UK.
Oh
Yay.
yeah. I mean, hey, why? You might as well double down. I mean, if you're going to get a shitstorm, why not do it together? Yeah,
Well, yeah. And then, I mean, we got Trudeau that's hanging on by his fingernails at the moment.
I know.
But yeah, the world is a mess.
It does. Right. So I think we've pretty much have we come to the end of the dream state?
I think we kind of have. I do. We,
I mean, let's face it, and if you were looking for answers here, you've come exactly to the wrong place
yeah.
because I don't think there are any answers for many of the things that we talk about. I mean, we chat about them and sometimes we come to conclusions and whatever, but I don't think you can ever determine at this point in time what dreams are for, why we need to. I mean, why? I mean, if you think about it, why do you need to sleep? You know, and it's not just us. Every mammal does it. Every reptile seems to do it. Even insects have downtime. You know, everybody seems to have downtime. So it seems to be a requirement of an organic functioning entity that it needs some downtime to decompress.
But
And
does that mean that dreams are also something to do? Crocodiles have dreams? Do
well, you see,
because bumblebees go to sleep? Do
yeah, I
bumblebees
know.
have dreams?
I don't know. I mean, the thing is,
It's fascinating.
the thing is, why do you need to sleep? I mean, think about it. Effectively, I mean, you're wasting almost a third of your life sleeping, right? Why do you need to sleep? Because surely, there should be no reason why, if you're getting enough food, rest, and nutrients, that you should have to actually just go. You know, why should you have to do that?
Well,
And the
sleep,
thing is, why should creatures that have less mental capacity sleep more? Like cats and dogs.
but also how much of that is about the body
Boredom?
repairing itself? like I was saying at the beginning, that there's certain processes that happen in the body only when you're asleep, and most of those processes are actually relating to repair. That while you're awake, your body is basically working, and it's not putting any energy into repairing. And then when you're asleep, your muscles relax, everything relaxes.
Yeah, I think I've got to. I think I've got to disagree with Ray. Those that sleep longer are smarter. I don't think so. Einstein, Edison, Tesla. None of these guys slept for any length of time. They would catnap all the time. They wouldn't sleep. I mean, they're famous for not sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
or for sleeping very little. So, and these are the smartest guys on the planet, quite obviously recognised as such. So, I think I've got to disagree with you there, mate.
Mm.
Oh,
Right, so where are we at? Oh, crap, we've done nearly an hour and a half.
yeah, we've managed an hour and a half. I think that's perfectly acceptable.
Yep, no, it's a good amount of time. We've still got people in chat, which is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, we've still got a good, amount of people watching us, and thank you very much for attending. If you would like to help us out, you can like, share, and subscribe. That's all free because we don't make a lot of money, and what little we do goes on essentials like food. Not drink anymore because I'm trying to lose weight. In fact, I haven't. This is the first day I've eaten since Sunday.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I've lost 8 pounds, so that's a good start. So I'll keep going and see how we go on. I really need to get into some serious weight. Pardon me, weight reduction.
That's healthy.
And if you have the opportunity, feel free to drop us a donation at ko-fi.com/Chasing Descent, paypal.me/Chasing Descent, or indeed join the channel for as little as 99 pence a month. You can pay more, obviously, but you can join it for as little as that. Yeah, the stream is ending, Frankie. Well done. You've got there on the end, mate. He's been going on about the stream ending for about the last half hour. I think he's trying to premonition. He's trying to get a premonition that he's right, and I think eventually you got there, mate. Well done. So, as always, Ed, say goodbye to these lovely people.
Oh, thanks, guys. It's been good fun. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and see you again next week.
And as always, it's been great for you.